together, little darling, so I can feel you breathe. Let's spend this night together, for tomorrow I must leave. We'll drift out on this ocean of never-ending stars. We can see through every window of your car. Hello there, pretty baby. The night's so young and wild. Let's fly out to Las Vegas, have a wedding and a child. And years into the future, we can both look back and laugh at this moment that you almost let pass. Smell them on my clothes, those dainty little cuties and those ghetto-licious hoes. I love them all so dearly, but they don't know what they mean to a impossible dream.
At Forever Paws Animal Shelter, our mission is simple: place these valued animals in loving homes. Forever Paws Animal Shelter, giving animals a new leash on life.
When you don't know what the fuck you're doing, time for asking after.
Hey, what's up, dudes? Hopefully everybody can see me and hear me okay. It looks like you should be able to. Somebody give me a hell yeah in the comments if you can see me and hear me okay. So let's get that out of the way first and foremost. Anyway, yeah, welcome to Guitologist Channel 2's rare live stream. We're going to probably start doing a few more of these from time to time, probably focusing mostly on tech stuff. We'll probably do a lot of Ask an Amp Tech kind of live segments like this, because I want to kind of try to, answer people's questions on the fly that I get a lot in emails. I've already got a couple of emails that I was going to go ahead and kick us off with tonight. First of all, happy Easter, everybody. Hope everybody had a happy Easter. My family and I, we didn't do too much. I used to go to church a lot as a kid. We would go every single Easter to church, and all of us kids would dress up and to the nines. We would have our Sunday best on every Easter. And that's actually Easter was about the only excuse that we ever had to like dress a kid in a suit. But I was a cute kid in a suit, I'll tell you that. But anyway, yeah, I hope everybody had a happy Easter. What's going on? Stop motion, adjust your settings. Video is stuttering. Well, that sucks. Okay, hang on. Is the audio okay? Okay, the sound is good. Yeah, lower the bit rate. Hang on, we'll get there. First, let's tech support my computer, and then we'll tech support somebody's amp. Come on, now my computer's wanting to freeze up on me. Not responding. That's wonderful. Okay, hang on. The video is good now for you? Well, that's weird because my computer actually is freezing up. It's like it's almost getting, it's going to give me the blue screen of death, even though those don't any longer exist. They're going to resurrect the blue screen of death just for me. Okay, so it's looking better on your end at least. Well, that's weird because now it just started screwing up for me. So, give me 1 second though, because I do want to lower the bit rate so I'm not, I can actually look at things. I need to be able to look at my desktop to do what I was going to do. Yeah, it's just, I've got the hourglass. Yeah, I need a new computer. I think that's going to be next on my list for sure. Still not right for Duncan Hill. Yeah, this is why I don't do a whole lot of live streams, because I can't stand this crap. This part of a live stream where everybody's trying to get their live stuff set up properly is no fun to watch. I'll probably edit all this crap out. Let's see. Hang on. Yeah, this is really no fun. You guys can still see me. That's kind of hard to believe because my computer is just going blah, 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 every 2 seconds. So, all right, let's lower the bit rate. Here we go. Finally, I've got to the screen. Let's lower the bit rate a bit. Hang on. Now it's giving me the hourglass again. Just give me 1 second. Oh, fun stuff. Come on, you bastard. Jeez. What the hell, man? Come on. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to upgrade some equipment here. I need a computer with a little better CPU for sure. Something that's not this AMD crap. I'm going to have to get something decent. The last desktop that I had, it went under, so I just parted it out. So I'm kind of stuck with this thing. Okay, all right. Lower bit rate. Let's go down to about maybe 1800, something like that. What do I have as far as yeah, the graphics card's not great either. It doesn't even have like acceleration for the graphics and all that crap on this thing. Okay, so it's better. It's not freezing on my end on my computer now. And I can also see my stream over here seems somewhat my monitor seems somewhat okay. So, everybody good? Speak now, forever hold your peace. Maybe hold your pieces anyway, but just off camera. Okay, anyway, here's the deal. Here's why I came on the live stream. We're going to do some Ask an Amp Tech. If you guys have just arrived, I will probably try to answer some questions in the live stream here, if I can get to them. And just keep in mind when I'm looking this direction, I'm not looking at I'm not looking at any comments. All I can see is my OBS. I have to look over here actually to see any comments. That's just the setup I have going right now, because my cord's too short to move my monitor over here by this one. So I'll fix that too. But anyway, here we go. I wanted to show you guys what a couple of these questions are that have been sent to me. One of them was from Detroit Wrecker. And let me see if I can bring up on screen. Let's see. Hang on. Okay. And you guys can kind of see what I'm seeing there. Sort of. Okay, the thing is, he made a video. I'm going to see if I can... I'm probably not going to have enough... I don't think I'm going to have enough juice on this computer to play his video. He made like a 3-minute video, essentially, outlining a problem that he had. He also took some photographs. And he has an X100B Carvin. And... actually, I don't know if he so much had a problem. I think he was changing tubes, and he just wanted me to take a look at the inside of the thing while he had it open to see if anything jumped out at me as being weird. And then he noticed this. He noticed that he had an extra pot in there that just kind of looked out of place. So we were going to kind of try to ascertain what was going on with this pot. And see, right now it's not even wanting to load that. It just doesn't like it. It doesn't like the system resources on this computer are just being eaten up by OBS right now. It's just taking over everything. I can't do OBS and look at the net apparently at the same time. I can do it when I'm just offline and recording. And actually, I tried that to make sure everything was going to go smoothly. And then, of course, obviously, when I try to actually go live with it, that's when it screws up. So, whatever. But yeah, see, I can't do jack shit right now. I'm going to Control-Alt-Delete. I'm going to try to change the, I'm going to try to change the preferences here a little bit and see if I can't get this stabilized. Yeah, this is, hang on, one sec. One sec. Maybe you guys can at least see what I'm doing. Hang on. Yeah, okay. No, that's not helping you, is it? Can't see shit there. Hang on. Yeah, I guess this is probably good too because it has kind of thrown me over the edge for finally replacing this laptop. Having just done taxes and realized how much like all my expenses like brought my overall income way down. I probably should just go splurge on a bunch of stuff. That'd be cool. what are you saying there? Hey, that 50 watt tube amp 4 6v6 has been running it with just 2 6v6s. I think I mismatched the ohms from the head to the cab. It sounded great when I changed the phase inverter with what? With a 12 AX7. It died quickly. Yeah, Watchman, I don't know what's up with that, dude. Without seeing it, it's kind of hard to say. So you're saying you had a 50 watt tube amp with 4 6v6s. Are you saying that it was originally like a 6L6 based thing that you just stuck 6v6s into? Or no, yeah, okay, four 6v6s. All right, that makes sense. If it was 2 6v6s, yeah, that wouldn't. Okay, I'm sorry, I was confused myself. My bad. Anyway, let's see if we can't get the performance a little bit better, because this is unworkable at the moment. Looks like maybe. Stop! Okay, sorry about that. Not sure what the hell happened there. That was not me. That was not me. I'm not going to claim responsibility anyway. Yeah, this is a fucking train wreck. This has turned into an absolute train wreck. I can't click on anything. I can't do anything. I'm trying to go into the task manager and actually adjust some of the preferences, some of the, you know what I'm trying to say, some of the latency essentially on the programs themselves. And it's not going to let me even do that, so I don't know. I might have to just stick here with comments, and then we'll just kind of do that. Let me see if I can at least put my face back on the stupid screen. Now it's going to do that again. What the fuck? Stop. Yeah, my computer's just bogging down too slowly, guys. I might have to come back to this another time. I'm not sure. It's looking okay on my monitor. It's looking half okay over here. It's just, you know, but this stupid fucking thing is like just, it's freezing up every 2 seconds, and it does not like running this OBS and me trying to look at other things at the same time. I can't use it in the way I want to use it right now. So I don't know. I'll answer a few questions while I'm here at least. Watchman, you said, yeah, okay, you had 4 6v6s, ran 2. Okay, you ran only 2 of them to take down the volume. Could I have fried a transformer? Probably not. Are you sure that you're running one of those tubes is on one side of the transformer and that the other tube is on the other side? Because if you've got both those tubes on one side, then, you know, on accident, then, you know, yeah, you might be screwing something up there. You might burn up the primary of your output transformer. But if you're sure that you've got one tube on each side of that transformer that are pushing and pulling, make sure that your tubes, you know, that they're somewhat appropriately matched. I mean, they don't have to be perfect, but they need to be, you know, somewhat close. Because what can happen is you might have one that's doing most of the work. So that could be causing a problem. Not a bot says, I think you picked up a GeForce GTX 1060 graphics card for a couple $100. That would probably fix your streaming issues. Yeah, I think it's a graphics card too, because what I've got here is this shitty Lenovo IdeaPad. And at the time I bought this thing, I was just going to use it for just surfing the fucking net. You know, I wasn't intending on even doing all the video editing that I started really heavily doing on it. So Yeah, I need to go back and get something a lot beefier than this. If I can actually, I'm going to try one more time to actually get into the system settings here and see if I can't change the program latency on this, though. Because if I can do that, I might be able to adjust it, balance it a little bit better so that I can do what I need to do. CPU with more cores. I think this one has like 4. This is what is this? An AMD A12 7th generation. I'm not even going to attempt to go into my right click on my computer or any of that to look at the details because it'll probably just freeze. But anyway. One thing I may be able to do actually is just there it finally came up. 1 second. Okay, let's see if we can do this. Hang on. See, it won't even let me go to the fucking task manager. Oh, there it is. And it's not showing me any of the processes or anything. So tell you one thing that's not helping. I need to close that right there. That's not helping at all. Maybe that was it. Is it going to do it now? Is it going to do it now? Cool. I think it's going to work. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, so this is the video that Detroit Wrecker made. It's about a 3-minute video. We'll try to check this out and see if it doesn't chop out on us. It looks like it may do just that. So. But anyway, if you have nothing better to do on a if you have nothing better to do on a Sunday night anyway, you may as well be here watching me troubleshoot my live stream. Okay, I don't think I'm going to need the task manager after all. Well, let's get rid of that. It's probably just slowing shit up now. Not responding. I love it when the task manager doesn't even respond. That's always encouraging. Yeah, Joe Cass, and I don't have any other tabs other than the things that I really needed. I don't need that though. I don't know how the hell that got up there. Facebook. Oh, that's because I posted on Facebook a minute ago that I was about to go live and accidentally left that up. So yeah, that might help getting rid of that, hopefully. Facebook is really, I've noticed that it's really resource hungry. And plus, it's just a shitty platform. Just stay off Facebook, people. Worst platform you can possibly be on for social media. Really is. I'd much rather communicate.
Okay, hey Brad. I just took this apart really quick right after I emailed.
Okay, hang on. Let's lower the bitrate on this.
So I just want to show you a quick video. This is the amp. Of course, it's upside down.
Looks like it's already low. Yeah, see it. See what I mean?
I just wanted to send you.
Hell, it's already 240p.
Video of the pot in question, which this goes.
Okay, I'm gonna pause that right there if I can. Let me just, because that's 240p anyway. I don't think I'm gonna be able to see very much from that. But what this pot is doing, it's just basically dangling out there in space off of the board.
Certainly goes to a power tube, and it's at R. Focus, damn it.
What is it?
R126.
R126.
Now,
okay.
my understanding.
That's what I need to know. Okay, you can see what it's doing. It's coming off the board. It's coming off of R126 on a Carvin X100B. It's going over to the pot, and the pot looks like it was going over to the preamp out. And he was thinking that it was a bias thing, but I don't think so. I think it's actually an adjustment pot for the preamp. And we're going to take a look and see if we can't determine that now. Okay, the preamp out on this thing. We've got right there, preamp. No, okay, no, that's just the internal preamp. That's just the schematic preamp out right there. So I don't think that is that's not the jack in question. The jack is actually an XLR jack on the back of one of those for the preamp out. I'm looking for it here, but that's not it. I'm wondering if it's on the power amp section. Okay, input from the there it is. Okay, preamp out right there. And we're looking for, what did he say? What was that? R what? Okay, here's my CPU, actually, if you guys were interested. Okay, it's a 2.5 gigahertz, 4 cores. And, you know, it's loaded up with RAM, so it's not that. It's got to be graphics related. It's graphics card related. So anyway, yeah, I'm troubleshooting 2 different things at the same time here. Just bear with me. Process is going to come up. Oh, wow, I'll be damned. Well, at least we got that far. I don't want to lower that one, but I can actually should be able to lower Chrome. Nope, 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 nope. I can't ever remember. Windows 10 sucks. Everything I learned was on previous versions of Windows, and every time I try to do anything on Windows 10, it's like everything is moved. It just pisses me off. There, details. Right. Yeah, something like that. And then we'll right click, and then we'll go. Okay. Okay, let's set that slightly above normal. Sometimes that can change. That can help. Sometimes it can make things worse. We'll see what that one does. So okay, back on this thing. So yeah, he had that pot going to the preamp out. It might have been going to the ground though of the preamp out. So I need to figure out what. It didn't look right. If it was being used as a bias pot, it didn't look right, like the right kind of pot. I don't think it was going to be able to handle the current that would, you know, normally flow through it. Let's see. Where he sent me some photos too. Let's look at the photos. Yeah, he emailed me and I emailed him back and told him I was like, yeah, man, I'll just knock up a quick video for you and just go over the schematic and stuff, and that'll be easier than me trying to explain it in an email. And then I got thinking, well, I could just do a live stream, and that would be easier than actually editing a video. And now I'm really seriously second guessing that. But yeah, Windows 10 is absolutely the worst. I don't. You know what pisses me off about Windows 10 the most is that they're trying to make Windows 10 a fucking service instead of a piece of software. You know, I don't want your service, Bill Gates. I don't want your fucking service. I just want your piece of software, and then get the hell out of my life. You know, I don't want you telling me when I have to update Windows. You know, I want to be able to tell you to kiss my ass from now until the end of time every time you pop up with an update, you know. Instead, you just decide unilaterally, hey, guess what? You're going to update right now in the middle of whatever the fuck it was you're doing, and you're just going to lose everything. So that's all. That was fun times that day. Thanks a lot. Fucking bastards. Anyway, you can see here on this photo. Let me see if I can zoom in at all. Come on in there. Does that say R106, right? Okay, so is that what it's coming off of? Looks like it's going to R10. Looks like it might be going right there to R106. Right? So it's coming off of that. Going to this one, actually. R126. Okay, so off of R126, they've replaced that resistor. Okay, with this thing. And that, what does that look like? Oh. What is that? Brown, black, yellow. So what is that? A 1 meg, I guess. Is that right? Or is that 100K? Oh, shit. Yeah, it's 100K. Okay, so they've got a... And it looks like it probably is some kind of... Yeah, like a grid stopping kind of a thing. You know, into this pot, which is like a 50K pot, I think. Yeah, 50K pot. And then this wire is coming and going over to here to this output, to this preamp output. So I would say probably what was here originally was like, you know, some other set value resistor, R126. I guess we should see what that is. R126. So we'll go back over here and see what it is. See what it is. And usually resistors on a schematic, they kind of go in an order, like from the input to the output, and they'll kind of go up in value from there. So it'll start like R1, R2, R3 as you move from left to right. Usually that doesn't always follow that though. But R126, so there's R93, R92. We're going backwards. See, there's R7 stuck in the middle there. So that's not really helping me much, is it? It's got to be somewhere though off of the preamp out. So it's got to be one of these over here, right? Somewhere over here. R52. No. No, that's the return for the graphic EQ. Looks like there. It's not that. Does anybody see R126? Did you guys have this schematic up? You can find these schematics. I'm sorry, I should have told you this. At the tubestore.com if you want to follow along. Tubestore.com, and you can search schematics and then go to Carvin, and they have the Carvin X100B preamp and power amp schematics there if you guys want to bring them up. But yeah, Daz, no, you really... The last I checked, you can choose when you want to update Windows, but it forces you to update Windows. It's like you've got to make a choice to update Windows. If you don't choose to update Windows, they're just going to choose for you. See, that's the difference. The old Windows was, if you didn't choose to update Windows, you just didn't have an updated version of Windows, and some shit would stop working here and there. And then eventually it'd be like, okay, enough stuff has stopped working now. I think I should probably try to update Windows and see if that fixes the things that have stopped working. And sometimes that would fix it, But no, anymore, if you choose not to update Windows, they're just going to choose for you. So that's the part that I think is bullshit. And plus, I think they're going to get to the point where they do it like Adobe started doing with their products, like Photoshop, where you have to subscribe to the fucking thing, and you can't just buy a program that you own that works with a certain version of Windows or a certain operating system, and then you own the program for as long as that computer's running, and you have the key, it's yours to use. No, that's not they've changed all that shit, so I can see that changing as well. But yeah, that's a whole nother thing. Whole nother thing. Imagine you could make big bucks with remote troubleshooting all day like this if I got a decent computer upgrade. Yeah, probably. Maybe. I'm not sure I'd want to spend all day trying to do this, though, to be honest. But on this one, did anybody find that resistor? Because it's looking to me like I can't see it. I can't find R126. It's not where I thought it would have been, like somewhere around that preamp out. So it must be coming from somewhere else. Maybe it is coming from the output. So let's check the output and see if somebody did do something like that. Okay, so we've got R106 and 10. There's 106. Didn't I say we saw 106? Okay, well there's R125, and that is in the bias. Maybe I misread that or something. Maybe it's, because see, there's R125 right down there, right? Yeah, that is a 5, and that's in the bias circuit. So, can you guys even see that shit? Yeah. But see what I mean? There's R125. I don't see R120. There's 127. Oh, there's 126. It is in the bias circuit. Holy shit. Okay. So what has he got here then? He's got... it was going from... it added a resistor. It doesn't tell me what the... this shows a bias adjust pot. Like from the factory. So there should have been a bias adjust pot from the factory. I didn't think the X100B had a bias adjust pot from the factory, but this looks like it does. Maybe this is the reissue? Does anybody know? I think he has an original one. That's what he's showing me there in the photographs, is an original X100B, like from the 80s. Maybe this schematic is like one of the newer reissue schematics or something like that. Let me go back to photos here and let's see if we can get a couple, maybe another clue what's going on. What's going to be really funny is he's not going to see this video now. Or he'll just, he'll sell the amp before he sees the video, so it'll just be for no good reason. But yeah, you can see it comes from 126 right there. That resistor, which I think it looks like 100K to me. It looks like brown, black, and a yellow. Right? And then it goes to a 50K pot to ground. They don't give me a pot value on the schematic, which is odd. And that pot looks to me like, I mean, that's not something Carvin would have done. Now, they would have at least mounted it to the chassis, you would think, in a proper manner. That looks like that. I don't know. Is that like glued to the chassis? They wouldn't have done that. And plus up there on the board, they actually have a space for R126. And this thing is flying up off the board like that. They wouldn't have done that either. So this is definitely something someone has done. And it looks like they're what they probably did was they were adjusting the bias so that it could use whatever the factory tubes were not. So if it's the version that came with 6L6s, they probably modded it so that it could use the EL34s or vice versa, is what I'm guessing there. So yeah, you were right. Actually, from what I was seeing there, it looked to me like they were trying to add some kind of attenuator or something on the preamp out, some kind of internal attenuation adjust or something. Like maybe they had used this head, I was thinking like in a studio setting or something, and the studio engineer added that perhaps so that they could, dial it, so they could go direct to board or something maybe, and they had some kind of board they wanted to dial in the exact, gain into the board or something like that was what I was thinking. But now that I see the schematic and everything, no, I was actually wrong. So yeah, man, it definitely is a bias adjust, and you'll want to probably just pop the tubes in, and if you haven't already done so, dude, you might want to make one of those biasing probes that I showed how to make the other day. And actually, I've made a different one now. I've made a second one of those using a different piece of different base. I'll show you. I don't know if you guys saw that video. Not many people saw that video for some reason. The algorithm just didn't show it to many people. And plus, it's it's one of those excuse me. Second. Plus, it's one of those kind of techie videos that's really niche, so I understand that. But yeah, this one, the new one that I made is actually actually a lot shorter, or not a lot shorter, but it's maybe a couple millimeters shorter, so it would actually fit in more amplifiers, I think, like, you know, where you didn't have to take it out of the cabinets. And what I used was this thing. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Hopefully you will. But this is a bass that you can buy off of Antique Electronic Supply, and I think they're no more than maybe $4 or $5, something like that, for this piece. And this will take the place of you having to like break a tube, you know, and use the base of a tube. But you can get these, like I said, Antique Electronic Supply. And I forget where I saw it. I think it's under like tube sockets, I believe. If you go scroll down and look through tube sockets, this is basically just an octal socket with all 8. It's got all 8 legs there. And what you can do is actually take some good gauge wire and clip it off, and you can put the wire all the way down inside of there, and then solder it, because you could see, I don't know if you'll be able to see there or not, but those actually are hollow on the inside. And some other people pointed out that yes, these are hollow on the inside, but the problem with using one of those bases is you're probably not going to be able to get the existing stuff out of there because it's molded into the glass around the bottom. But this is not molded around any kind of glass. This is just a naked, you know, I don't know what this is, some kind of Bakelite type stuff, but whatever. But that's an easier way of doing it. If you don't already have a bias probe, just watch that video. Maybe order one of these and make it a little easier on yourself, and make yourself a set of these bias probes with this thing you can get from Harbor Freight, usually for free. And then you'll be able to check your bias and adjust it with that pot. So you'll be able to actually look and see, oh, you know, well, they're drawing X current, so I need to get it to this point. So you can actually look at it while you're adjusting the current too. But yeah, just be very careful. You know, if you're sticking your hands, obviously, in a live amplifier like that, always be careful. I just need to make sure you know that. But yeah, man, does anybody else have any other questions? I do have one other dude. Actually, hold off on that just one second. I did have one other guy who asked a question in an email. I'm going to try to find that here. Let's see. Okay, this is from D-Niece 0012, and he writes, or she writes perhaps, bought one of these after seeing your videos on them. It has a bad hum and sounds good under that. What do you think I need to replace? And the video, let's see if we can get the video up here. We'll see what it sounds like. Whoops, did I do one too many? Hang on one second. Okay. Yeah, I think I closed one thing too many. All right, let's see. Hang on, we'll find it. Okay. The name of the file is like image 8081. Let me find that. Hang on. Hang on. It's in here. Yeah, you guys are getting the inside scoop on all my files here. Probably not. There's a horse poop clip. I could play that for you. A lot of you guys have probably already seen it. I keep the best horse poop clips on my computer just in case the internet ever goes down. I'll have all the good horse poop clips. I'll start a website when the internet starts back up. You know, I'll have all the good ones, so I can start horsepoop.com. Is this thing gonna open or what? Open, you stupid bastard. Jeez. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to do something about this computer. Definitely gonna have to do something about it. So that means spending more money. Oh, Jesus. It's always fun spending money on things other than guitars. You know, I just love doing that. Spending money on things other than guitars and amplifiers. Bills are my favorite. Especially medical bills. Like unexpected medical bills are the best. I long for like a good, you know, broken arm or something so I can drop about $2,000. Yeah. And then they'll take, they'll take X-rays from like every conceivable angle. so it's like, you know, $200 a pop, or whatever the hell it was they tried to charge me. Hard drive, not CPU. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure. See, right now it's like. I think it's just system resources, man. Honestly, it just doesn't have enough system resources to handle what I'm doing, which is silly. I mean, because you would think in the year 2019, I should be able to stream and have, you know, a browser open and maybe play a movie, you know, at the same time. It's like those three things would be really nice. Here it comes, finally. Now watch, like the second time I clicked it, now that's going to come up too. And then I'll have to spend 30 minutes closing it. But yeah, long story short, this dude, he bought a 703, one of those K703s. It's like, it's one of those series filament amps from the 60s. You guys may or may not have seen some of my videos on those. Those are kind of older videos. Usually you have to... Usually, if you really want the hum to all go away with one of those, you know, first of all, you need to change caps. And I can already tell from the video that he had sent me that he had not yet changed caps. And I think it's about to come up here. Hang on. So, first of all, you're going to need to do that, dude. Or dudette, whichever you are. And secondly, you're going to really want an isolation transformer for that thing. And that will actually cut down on the noise as well. It helps isolate and smooth out some of the power ripple to have a transformer rather than not having one. Maybe it'll come up today, maybe not. I don't know. We are just going on the whims of a machine with a mind of its own. So maybe we should just talk about the weather instead. Would you say Stanley Kubrick would be proud of what, of this production? Yep. I'm not filming any moon landings today, though. So I don't know what he would think about that. Yeah, my PC definitely needs to flex, doesn't it? It's flexing all over the place here. Any idea what might cause noise in a Klon Centaur circuit, even when bypassed? Driving me nuts. Replaced a bunch of the caps. No luck. Op amps are fine, can't seem to trace it. Yeah, usually ground, it's ground. 9 times out of 10, you've got some kind of ground loop. Are you powering it with a battery, or are you powering that? I don't even know if they take batteries, but you power it with a battery or with a wall wart or what? Because a lot of times you'll get problems with the wall wart that you're not going to see with a battery. Russell, favorite string gauges. It depends on what guitar it is and what scale length. I don't like real slinky shit like Billy Gibbons, like 8 gauge or some shit. You know, you got to be able to knock the hell out of some strings. If you have a kind of a lower gain amplifier, if you like vintage amps like I do that are kind of on the low gain side of things, if you like some good crunch when you dig into it, but you can back off on the picking a little bit, and clean it up without even touching any knobs. Like I think a good amp should be able to do. I want a string that's thick enough so that I can knock the hell out of it, and it doesn't go out of tune when I strike the string. Because the harder you strike a string, you'll notice the more it'll go out of tune initially. Like it'll go sharp initially, and then it'll settle back down to the pitch that's supposed to be. And if you have the slinkier the string, the more it's going to do that. When that initial attack. Especially if, let's say, you have an 8 gauge string and a 10 gauge string on the exact same guitar, so same scale length, and if you hit them with the same force, the 8 gauge string on the initial attack is gonna move further, and it is going to go out of tune actually above the pitch further than the 10 gauge string. So the 10 gauge string will stay truer on the attack. Now, some people like that sound, like the bow, bow. It's a thing. Like some styles of music, you kind of need it to do that. Like some styles of punk or some styles of doom metal or whatever it is you're playing. Maybe you want that, so that might be something to look into. But if you're using like I said, a lower gain amplifier, that's something older that you like, you want to use. Crunchy when you really knock the hell out of the strings, and you want to be able to back off and clean it up, just all with your pick attack. You're going to want something that's not too slinky. So for me, that means 8 gauges are pretty much out. That's just the dumbest thing you could put on a guitar to me. If you have something that's real high gain or something, you can crank up the gain on the amp, and then you can pick like a pussy on the 8 gauge string, and it's not going to matter because don't take any offense to this if you use 8 gauge strings. I'm just saying from my perspective, if you're kind of just picking around like a pussy on an 8 gauge string, yeah, you can make the amp sound pretty loud while you're doing that because it's a higher gain amp. So or if you have high output pickups, like EMGs or any kind of active pickup or something like that, then yeah, you can create a lot of signal with a small amount of pick, And I'm sure you've noticed this if you've played through some shredder person's amp setup, and then you go to like somebody who does more like, AC/DC-ish type stuff. You actually, the AC/DC type setup, like if it's just a Marshall and maybe a tube screamer or something like that at the most, that's going to tell on you a lot more too. Like if every little mistake that you make, you're going to be able to notice it on that setup, whereas on the the ultra gain setup, you can hide a lot of mistakes a little easy. Now that's somewhat not true too, because you can get real sloppy on one of those and it will sound like shit. You have to still play clean, but what I'm saying is you can pick notes a lot. What am I trying to say? You can pick notes on a setup like that with a lot less force and still get the same output, than you would have to on a lower gain amp. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, generally speaking, on Gibson guitars with like a 24 3/4 scale, I like 10s. They seem to have about the right amount of tension. But on Fender scale lengths, like 25.5, I like 9s. That's about as low as I'd go on that. If I went to 8s, it would be too slinky. On acoustics, generally I like 12s if I'm just for everyday playing, and if I can get away with it, I like 13s if I want to step up and like get a little bit more bass and a little bit more punch. And if I'm doing a recording or something like that, I might throw 13s on something just for the recording and then go back to 12s. because you will get more sustain out of an acoustic top. You'll get more punch. You'll get more bass. And it also a thicker gauge set of strings, like a 13 gauge set, which is usually medium for most companies. Will tend to like compress a little better whenever you're doing like just kind of country strumming. So it's yeah. If I was doing that, I would just not close the window, just minimize. I don't understand. Anyway, that video's not going to play, so I'm not even worried about that. Yeah, I don't think it's going to play at all. But the point is, he was getting some hum, and I was going to try to demonstrate to you what it sounded like when it, you're getting power cap hum, because the hum that he was experiencing on that amp was a classic case of just power cap hum. So what you need to do, dude or dudette, is replace your power caps, and that's that orange looking big capacitor can that's in there. You can actually get those from CE Manufacturing, which is that's the manufacturing arm of Antique Electronics Supply, and you can get one like this that would probably be perfect for your needs. That will have the caps already in it that you're going to need for that amp. So something like that should do the trick. Antique Electronics Supply, you can just Google search that and they'll have those. That reminds me, I called Antique Electronics Supply the other day and spoke to them. I was doing an order anyway, and I had some kind of other question, but I was going to see if they'd be a sponsor. That would be pretty cool if they would actually sponsor my videos. But the guy said he was going to have me call someone else, so I was like, I'll just call back another day then. But yeah, if you guys have any leads on any good sponsors, man, I'm gonna be closing up my sponsorship with Forever Picks soon. We're gonna be parting ways more or less, and also my strap sponsor, Native Sons Goods. They've only got a few more videos, I think, left too. So after that, I'm pretty much wide open. If you guys know anybody who wants to sponsor some videos, let me know. The thing about the sponsorships, everybody assumes, and I don't want to go off the deep end on this, but everybody kind of assumes it's like, oh, you can't possibly be fair and balanced, if you're doing reviews and if you're taking ads or doing sponsorships. That isn't true at all, because my sponsorships have nothing to do with the thing I would be reviewing. So why would that matter? Actually, it makes me more free, doesn't it? I mean, because if I'm already financially secure with another sponsor, then I can say any fucking thing I want to, right? If the sponsor already has told me they don't care what the fuck I say, I could say the word fuck like 10 times in a fucking row, and I don't care what fucking YouTube thinks, I don't care what you think, I don't care what anybody thinks, because I've already been paid. So actually, I'm the ultimate person who is going to be, unbiased, right? It makes no sense to think it. It just pisses me off every time somebody points that out. Well, you're just going to be biased if you run all these ads. No, that's actually the opposite. The opposite's true. I may be biased toward those two particular or three particular sponsors, like, if it's between me recommending a Native Sons Good strap or somebody else's strap, yeah, I'm probably going to stick with their strap. First of all, because they're the best in the fucking world anyway, so I'm totally comfortable with it. Second of all, because, they pay me to say that. But for everything else that I review or say, it doesn't matter. I can say whatever the hell I want. So, fuck it. Anyway, so there's that. Check the output tranny for who are you answering there, Duncan? Let me see what's going on. Sorry, I got off on a tangent. I'll do that sometimes. Orange Tiny Terror, 7 years old, never worked on, and it's like new. What does this say? Sat unused for 5 years without being turned on. Turned it on, 60 cycle hum, and then dead. No audio, dead silent. No blown fuses. What should I check first? It sounds like you left it setting long enough for the power capacitors to probably basically the electrolyte inside the power capacitors had not been flexed, for lack of a better word. And it could be that you blew one of those, or one of them maybe shorted to ground, or one of them went open. Something like that's possible. Yeah. So the thing is, if it sat for 5 years, if it sets without turning on, you're supposed to technically bring stuff up on a variac slowly. If it's been setting for a long time, don't just flip a switch on something that's been setting for a long time. And let this be a lesson for everybody. If you have an amplifier that's been setting for a long ass time, especially years, like that, don't just flip the switch on it and expect not to see some smoke, because particularly the capacitors, the power capacitors, that the electrolytics, or the electrolyte inside of those capacitors can actually kind of crust. It's just basically crusts up. So you have to actually dial those up slowly on a variac for quite a while, maybe over the course of several hours. A lot of people recommend, and you can usually make them reform and be okay. But if it's a cheap a capacitor, which I'm guessing that probably has cheap capacitors anyway, it may not even help then. So you have to use your stuff so that it keeps working those capacitors. Let's see, 1993, PV Rage, Blue Stripe, Wumps on Power Up. Wumps, what does that mean? It goes whoop like that. Volume knob, be damned. What, if anything, can shut this up? Yeah, a lot of those are those little solid state things, right? Those little solid state practice amps that just, if you hit the power switch, it'll go boop. It'll kind of just. There's not a whole lot you can do you can actually put a capacitor on the power. You can modify the power circuit so that there's a capacitor there, so that the capacitor actually has to charge up slowly before it will deliver power to the rest of the amp. And you can modify something like that. But for that amp, man, it's probably not worth your time. I just live with the hump, because it had it from the factory, and probably all of those do. If you go and find other ones too, most of them will probably do the same thing. But there will be mods that if you search for that, there's mods you can find online to stop that, and it actually involves adding a capacitor somewhere in the power section. I'll see if I can dig up a schematic and show you, or dig up the PV schematic, actually. The problem is trying to do it right here on this. It's going to be fruitless. Maybe not. Was it PV Rage what? PV Rage. Was it the 158, or I'm guessing the 158? Are Sovtech amps any good? Yes. Yeah, they're pretty good. The pots are not that good. The pots go bad on those. And you'll want to change the power capacitors probably if you get one. Other than that, yeah, they're good amps. They're built pretty solidly. You can kind of get a lot for your money if you get one of those, and you can modify it to basically be like a Marshall 2204 or something if you want. While I'm waiting for this to come up, let's see. I'm going to read some more. Like I said, sorry, I'm kind of looking off to the side here, but that's how I have to read these. 1967-ish Gibson GA45 RVT. 1 second. Let me answer Dave's first. He was right ahead of you there. Does driving around with my amp in the trunk cause issues with the tubes over time due to vibration? Sometimes leave the amp in the car between gigs or practices. Yes, Dave, that can cause issues. I can't tell you the number of times I've had a perfectly good amp that I just serviced go back with somebody, and on the drive back, They put it in the trunk, and it just jostled around just enough for a preamp tube to go microphonic, or them to have some other issue arise, something be knocked loose. Yeah, stuff will happen, man, in your trunk. I wouldn't leave it in the trunk. Try to give it some padding. Like if you wouldn't feel comfortable riding there, don't put your amp there. Maybe put it on your back seat where at least it's got some cushion, and set it upright too, so it's got, maybe even like strap it in a booster seat. Put a little wig on it. Give some lipstick. But no, seriously, make your amps comfortable. There's nothing that says your amp has to ride in the trunk, unless it's your wife saying that, and then maybe you just need to get a new wife. I'm not telling you what to do, but but anyway, George Lackey asks, 67-ish Gibson GA45 RVT. And for you guys who don't know, the RVT would be the one with the tremolo and reverb both. One power tube doesn't light up. What? Oh, okay. So you're saying all of a sudden it just started, one power tube does not light. It's not a bad tube, and the amp was serviced 2 years ago. Yeah, it's fine, probably, George. Not all tubes, you're not going to be able to see all of the time. You're not going to be able to really see all of the filaments in the tubes. Sometimes they kind of end a little bit before the top of a tube or something, or they're kind of shorter, or something, whatever the case may be. But sometimes you just don't see the filaments too well in tubes, but they're perfectly fine, and you don't even know that they're conducting until you grab a hold of them, and then you have a hospital bill, unexpected one, which is the best kind. I love 80s PV stuff. Yeah, man, that stuff is pretty indestructible. Anything 80s PV is usually indestructible stuff. But okay, here we go. Rage PV Rage 158 schematic. Let's see what we got here. I'm guessing it's a 158. Holy shit, though. They don't have anything on this primary side on this schematic. That can't be right. Oh, they've actually got a... What the hell? Hang on. 1 second. Okay, they've got their fuse here on the secondary. But yeah, there's and I forget how they wire them exactly, but there's actually I think it's a capacitor they put in line on one of these, either the hot or the return, one of the two. They'll put a capacitor in line so that it will actually kind of slow down the inflow, because the capacitor has to actually fully charge before it, releases. So it's slower, it'll more slowly release all of the current into the rest of the circuit. So there are things that you can do for that, and like I'll have to dig up a schematic. And with this, with the way that this is, because this has nothing on the primary side at all. And that doesn't ring a bell for me. I'm not sure how I would do that on this. But yeah, there's a couple books there, and I think it was in one of those where I saw that what somebody had done. I'll try to dig that up for you and do it maybe next time we do one of these. But yeah, if I were you on this Rage, like, these are not, you're not going to damage the amp. You probably think that it's damaging the speaker or something like that. It's not. You're not going to damage anything, dude. A lot of those were that same way. They'll pop as soon as you turn them on. So, I wouldn't worry about it. You're saying also there's no sound all of a sudden, George. I'm sorry, George. Which one were you? You were the Gibson, right? Yeah, you're the 67 Gibson. Well, you said I'm sorry. You said it's not a bad tube. So I got confused. If the tube wasn't bad, then how is there no sound? I don't know. No sound all of a sudden. Yeah, I don't know, dude. That's too vague for me to really focus in on anything. You may, if there's no sound at all, that's usually like a bad. That's usually like a bad preamp tube or something, or something's come loose. Usually you'll get some kind of sound. Do you get no hum on it even when you flip it on at the speaker? Do you get no hiss or anything at all? But yeah, Axel, I understand. I understand it. It's it's a pain in the ass. It just pisses you off, but it's not going to hurt your amp though, dude. Virgin Tweed says quick connect speaker output cable adapters. Bogan acoustic master. Okay, what is that? CT35. Dallas here. Can't find them anywhere. Or is it difficult to convert to quarter inch? Yeah, man, I wouldn't even bother looking. I think I know what you're talking about. You're talking about like on all those old, you have an old Bogan, like PA head amplifier or something like that. You're probably, I'm guessing you're using for guitar, or you want to use for guitar. But yeah, if I were you, dude, just change that out to a quarter inch. You may have to drill new holes for the quarter inch jack, but that's going to be far better than trying to hunt down one of those. I know what you're talking about, like an adapter plug. I've actually got one or two of them somewhere around. They're either in the garage or I don't know. But for me to go looking for them, it would take way too much of my time, and you wouldn't get them for months anyway. So I know what you're talking about. It's got like a big round thing, and it's got like certain plugs. Yeah, you're going to be wasting your time looking for that, dude. I wouldn't even bother. Just make it quarter inch. Yeah, Axel, like I said, man, there is a mod for that, and I'm sorry I can't tell you exactly how to put it in this particular amp at the moment, but I could come back to you probably next week with a definite answer and show you something where you might be able to put something. I think some people actually I think some people use thermistors in the same kind of way to sort of slow the influx of the power. But like I said, as for how exactly I would implement it into this amplifier, I can't say offhand. It would take me a minute to figure that out. So, Brad, does your wife get all pissed about your equipment hoard? Well, she doesn't get pissed about my equipment. But maybe my equipment hoard. Maybe that. I think if anything, she gets pissed about my lack of use of the equipment. But no. The hoard. She's actually always been really cool about that, and that's one of the reasons I've kept her around. Because she's always supported me, because usually, everything I've done as far as hoarding things has been in an attempt to resell it. It's stuff I'm buying that I know I can fix, and I know I can make a profit on. So I don't buy things if I'm just for the hell of it. I don't buy things like that. Like, the other day when I was at that dude's store, you notice I went into the back immediately, and I was like, yeah, to me, this is the store. This is where the store is, because this is where all the money can be made. That's where all the stuff is that, has a problem or needs a part. And, and you look around here, it's like I've got bins and bins full of parts. And, I might have the part that he's missing. So if I can buy it, and get it for a decent price and then bring it home and put the part on it, give it a good setup, give it a spit shine and throw it up on reverb and make some money on it, then yeah, I'm going to do that all day, every day. And the cool thing about that is, I get to play a lot of different instruments and I get to see a lot of different things, and I'm not stuck with just one or two things. Like I could, and I think the name of the game in life is to, is not to own all of the toys, but to have played all the toys. You don't want to own them all. It's like, it's the same, and, I'm going to be crass here for a second. It's kind of the same with women. I mean, I think the goal for a lot of men is to, you want to spread your oats. You want to be able to, I'm not going to be crass. I'm going to resist being crass, but I think you see what I'm saying there. Part of the joy is to be able to, experience a lot of different things. And whenever you have stuff that comes in and you don't really particularly care either way, whether you sell it tomorrow, then it's kind of freeing in a way, because it's like, okay, yeah, somebody made me an offer on that, I'll sell it and I'll get something else. But because now I've got cash, I'll just go buy something else, and replace it with something completely different, this time. And I'll play that for a little while, fix it up, and then move on to something else. And just, to me, that's just the way to do it. Could a crack in the enclosure on the Klon do it? You're talking about make that noise. To refresh the memory of you guys, this fella said he was getting noise from his Klon Centaur. Your enclosure isn't going to really have any jack shit to do with it, unless when you crack the enclosure, unless it, loosens some ground point, like if it cracked like right along where some ground point, gets tied onto the thing, maybe there's something like that. Hey, Sean, thank you, man. What sickness have I stumbled upon? Yeah, Sean, I was just basically coming on to do some Ask an Amp Tech stuff. I spent about the first 30 minutes troubleshooting my own live stream, but I think it's to the point now where it's okay enough that I'm not going to touch it, and I can at least talk, And I can actually, I should be able to change my cameras and stuff too, and I can get in and out of things, hopefully. I'm thinking that's the case. Is it going to work? Yeah, it worked. See, the other cool thing I like about this setup is if I want to show you guys the desk or whatever, if I want to show you, I don't have to hold everything up. I can actually show you what I'm looking at on the desk. And if I wanted to do some whiteboarding or something down here, or show you this thing, I could do some whiteboarding if I want, or whatever. This might get cool in the future. I'm just kind of, right now I'm at the point where I've reached my limit on what I can do with this laptop. So yeah, I mean, if you guys, I definitely appreciate the the tip there, Sean, man. That helps a lot, dude. Sorry, excuse me. But yeah, like I said, I was noticing on my taxes, when I did taxes, it's like, I made an X amount of dollars for the years, gross. And then when I went back, and started doing my expenses, I was like, every time I saw a big expense, I was like, yes, big expense, yes. I mean, in reality, it's bringing my net profits down, but I'm of the mind of screw the government, try to keep every penny that's mine. So I would rather give it to sick kids or something than let those fuckers have it to misspend it. So anyway, Sean, I'm sure you know all about that. I'm not going to out you, but yeah, I remember who you are, Bubba. Let's see. Several friends have countless guitars and amps, drum kits in their studio, are just complete messes like that music store. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, if you don't have enough, excuse me, if you don't have enough people, coming into the market, young people who can buy up all this stuff, then one of two things has got to happen. Either the stuff is going to end up going to dumpsters, which means the old stuff is going to get rarer and rarer. Like I'm talking, pre-war stuff, which is what I gravitate toward that stuff a lot now anyway, is the pre-war stuff. Because I think that stuff is only going to get really rarer and rarer and rarer over the next couple of decades, to the point where you're never going to see it. You can walk in most Guitar Centers and you're never going to see anything like the stuff that guy had in his back room. And actually, I've got another video that I'm editing right now where I went around to a local music store here in Louisville. Our local music go round actually is a really good store if you're looking for old, weird, funky stuff. They just got stuff coming out of the walls there too, so we went there and I did some filming. So that video should be coming up early this week. But yeah, there's just so much of that stuff. You never see the old stuff. You never see anything like 40s and before. You just don't see it anymore. I mean, it might pop up every now and then if you're lucky at an estate sale. You might see one thing here, or you might see something on like Facebook Marketplace or something another day. But all that stuff is getting more and more rare, so it's that's the kind of stuff I gravitate toward that stuff because you never see it. It's interesting to me because you never see it, and also because I can fix it. So, this is my last try for today. My HRD has a low frequency hum on the effects loop. No sound from the preamp input. Is that a problem? Low frequency hum on the effects loop and no sound from the preamp. Do you mean the preamp output? Do you mean the preamp output? And what's an HRD? I don't know what that is. What is an HRD? Sorry, my brain's not working right. Oh, Hot Rod Deluxe. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I knew it was something like that. Okay, so low frequency hum on the effects loop. Yeah, on that one, dude, I wouldn't be able to tell you without seeing that, because that could be probably any number of things, I would imagine, causing that. A lot of time, if that has any kind of a buffer on that amp, which it probably does, like if it's tube buffered or something, it could just be that tube is bad in that buffering circuit, and you just need to replace that preamp tube. A lot of hum issues, and particularly if you get low hum, it seems like that really is often caused by bad tubes. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm following this entire thread. I'm trying to read and think at the same time, and it's not easy. But anyway, you say yes, no hum on the input. So when you actually go into the input of the amplifier and you listen to the speaker normally, you don't hear any kind of hum through the amp. But you only hear the hum when you're coming out of the effects loop through something and back in. Is that what you're saying? Because that could be a couple of different things too. It could be that whatever you're going through, whenever you come out of the effects loop and you go through like a pedal or something, and then you come back in, it could be that a grounding scheme or something on that pedal or the piece of equipment that you're going through. What you might try to do is you might actually try to get a patch cable. Just get a really short, known good patch cable, come out of the effects loop, and then go back into the effects loop, return, and see if it still hums with just a patch cable. And if it doesn't hum with just a patch cable, then you've narrowed it down to the external piece of equipment. So, something's going on with either that, or you're setting up some ground loop or something. But yeah, with my if my computer was running a little faster, I can try it. I guess I can. I guess I can try and see if I can get a schematic up for that. Hot Rod Deluxe. Schematique. While I'm waiting for that to search. while the monkeys, run around on the wheel here, we'll talk about some other things. Would you discharge caps same as a computer unplugging and hitting the power switch? I don't know if I understand that, Paul. I don't understand your question, buddy. Sorry. Idea for a show, says Virgin Tweed. Sometime down the road, ABY 2 amps at a time, or a stereo chorus on. Compare a few different combinations. Yeah, that's not me, Virgin. I'll leave that up to the guys who do more demos. I don't do a lot of demos unless it's stuff that I just fixed. I just don't have time for it. The only exception really is like if some company wants to send me something for free. It's hard for me to pass up free sometimes, like if it's a guitar or if it's this. And that reminds me, I actually have a couple of free instruments that this company sent. I have to do the demos on those. So, to be honest, I'm really not looking forward to it because I hate doing demos. But actually, one of them is kind of cool because it's just a really cheap guitar, and it's something you guys might be interested in if you're into upgrading guitars or that sort of thing. Are the communists going to take over America? Well, George, that's a long freaking answer, buddy. Probably the wrong channel for that too. But this is channel 2, though, isn't it? I might get away with it here on channel 2. But yeah, I don't know, man. George, my take on all that is we only maintain the rights that we stand up for. If we allow rights to be eroded, then they're going to be. There's always going to be somebody wanting to take those rights from you. And if you don't stand up for them and you don't put your foot down at some point, you're not going to have them anymore. So that's the way it is. George Lackey, you're saying the Gibson has no sound at all. Okay, yeah, man, that could be so many different things, dude. That it's too broad. I can't troubleshoot if it's just no sound at all. That just could be a lot of things, man. Is it turning on? I mean, I'm presuming that it's turning on. So if it's turned on, the light's coming on. It could be that could be a bad speaker. Could be a burned speaker coil. It also could be a bad output transformer. It could be a bad set of output tubes. It's just there's really too many different things that could be wrong in that scenario. So. Actually, Steve, if you're looking for a Variac, dude, there's the Variac that I use, or its nearest cousin. It's the exact same Variac. I think it's like a 5 amp Variac, but it's red now. That for whatever reason they changed the color of it to red. I don't think there's any real difference in them though. But they're in all of my Channel 1 videos. I put links in the description. If you go over to Channel 1 and you just pick any video and go to the description, there'll be a link to the Variac over on Amazon. And actually, those are affiliate links, so it actually helps the channel when you do that. So, but yeah, anyway, but that'll take you to exactly to the one that I use. It's kind of the same, just painted differently. Why does Sweaty Spaghetti asks, why does my 1972 JC120 head, I guess that's a jazz chorus, 120 I guess is what you're talking about there, have so much hiss? I looked online and I'm told this is normal. Can it be solved? It's really loud, like an old TV channel without a station. Yeah, man, you know, the problem with noise, with hiss and noise and all that kind of stuff is if it's not properly designed and engineered from the factory, if there's, you know, if they used bare wire where they should have used, you know, good shielded cable, like going between gain stages and back and forth to the pots and things like that. If the shielding's not good on the amp, I mean, that's one thing you can do yourself. You can try that and see if it might be just a shielding issue. You can get some. You can go to Harbor Freight. And you can get some of this stuff. This is like real cheap. It's aluminum shielding tape. And, you know, you can get this and shield like inside of the cabinet, and especially around the input jack and stuff. And also you can change that. You can try to change out the wires that are running like from the jack to the first transistor gain stage and all that stuff, and use shielded wire if it doesn't already have it. And just, you know, you can go through also in anywhere where you have long runs of wire, try to make sure that they're not, none of them are close to any AC carrying wires or signals, or high, you know, that are high voltage. But yeah, other than that, dude, there's not a whole lot you're probably going to be able to do about stopping noise and something like that. I mean, without just going through and kind of re-engineering it from scratch and starting at the input and just working your way through. And, you know, there's certain build principles that if you're building an amplifier from scratch, from the ground up, that you stick to in order to not have problems with noise. And noise, once it's already in an amp that's built, sometimes ferreting out that noise means ferreting out design flaws that were basically there from the factory. You know, in the case of those Ampegs recently that I did, of course, those were tube amps, so it's kind of a different animal, but the ground scheme that they were using really doesn't lend itself to somebody like me coming along later and putting on 3-prong cables, you know, that are grounded, and altering the ground scheme in any way, like changing power caps and things like that. Because they didn't follow the same kind of design principles that, like, say, a Marshall or a Fender or virtually everyone else did. So I don't know, man. You're probably gonna have a hard time on that one, getting rid of that hiss. If I were you, I would just move along to a different amp, to be honest. If you like the clean sound of a jazz chorus, if that's your thing, you know, PV made actually a lot of really good, really clean amps that would rival the jazz chorus. They have one in particular that's used a lot by slide players, and the name of it escapes me right now. But it's just super clean, super amount of headroom. And from, you know, it's the same era, you get them from the 70s. I think it's like a Session 400 or something like that, PV, that all those cats use. But anyway, there's a lot of stuff out there, man. If you just like a lot of clean, solid state headroom, you know, if you like that response in an amp, you know, there's a lot of them out there that will be really clean and really good, and will probably rival the tone easily of that JC120. So, and I hope to God you're not talking about a different JC120, because then that whole answer is just stupid. But yeah, Sweaty Spaghetti, I'm okay. So, okay, he says thanks for the suggestion, appreciate it. So I'm guessing it was a jazz chorus. So, I'm sorry if I'm missing any questions, you guys. Like I said, I'm trying to engage because I know you guys are over here. I'm trying not to stare off to the side here. We're just reading all the time. But if I'm missing any questions or anything, just try to forgive me. Epitome says Marshall MG 100 HD effects. Like a dumbass, tried to go from the speaker output to another amp and the sound went out. Any suggestions? Yeah, you've probably blown your output transistors there, dude, I would imagine. If you don't have any experience with troubleshooting or opening up amps or any of that stuff, take it to a tech and have those replaced, and that probably would bring it back to life. But if it's something you want to look at yourself, just be aware, be careful, make sure that you know how to discharge power capacitors and stuff, particularly on a solid state amp, because those will bite you. I've been wanting an old PV Nashville forever. Is it the Nashville? Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those models of PV that is just super clean, super amount of headroom. I think it's a Session 400 or something like that all of the pedal steel guys use, because it's like super clean and there's no sag. They hate sag, so it needs to be, whatever it is they use needs to be solid state, like ideally. And that's the sound that they love. So, but yeah, they made a lot of those, man, like PVs back in the 70s. That might be the ticket for you, instead of that jazz chorus. George says my X100B was a total wreck, so it became a great platform for building a project amp. Oh yeah, with the transformers and chassis. Yeah. I mean, it just comes down to the fact that, at some point those PC boards, printed circuit boards, man, they can become conductive. We've seen it with Marshalls, and I know we've seen it also with that freaking Mesa that I ended up tearing apart. And to me, that was one of the biggest hair pullers of all time for me. It made me never want to look at another Mesa. But I know for a fact that it had something to do with the board. There was almost no component that had to do with the output in that thing that I did not test. So it was something was up with that board. And yeah, man, eventually I think all printed circuit boards are going to end up kind of the same way. You'll be able to repair them up to a point, but they almost all get to the point where you start running a bunch of jumper wires because you've burned the traces, because you've been in it so many times, either modding it or repairing it, and eventually they just wear out. So it's not the same really with turret boards or eyelet boards or even point to point wired stuff. It's a hell of a lot easier to work on, harder to trace out something that's point to point usually, but once you get it traced out and okay, well, here's V1, it goes to V2, and then it goes on to this, and here's where the tremolo gets injected. Once you figure it out, it's like it's easy, and replacing components is easy. But PC boards, man, they have a shelf life. They have a life expectancy, I guess I should say. So Dan MC27 says Valve Kings are good. I got one, but the board mounted jack sockets tend to get cracks in the solder. Yep. Got mine cheap because of it and just flipped the jacks and wired them in, no problems. Yeah. I mean, those are the kinds of little mods, man. It's like that if you were going to take something like that on the road, particularly, and it was gonna be bounced around in your trunk or in the back of a van or in God forbid, the back of the trailer or something like that for a whole trip and a whole tour. Those are the kinds of mods you would probably want done before you even left. It's like having the tires checked on the van. It's like kind of that important. I don't think I would want to rely on something like that if I had not had, the tube sockets chassis mounted and had everything looked over and had the power supply. If there's any power resistors that are stuck down on the board, I'd want those lifted up off the board, and so they had room to breathe, and made sure that they're the correct values and they're going to dissipate the heat, and just all these little things. PV made good stuff, and everybody, I think, makes some good. If they're in business, they probably have made a few good things, and they've probably made a few duds as well. And if you get one that's a dud, and you take it on the road with you, I mean, it could be an adventure. So. Joe Bonamassa is trying to take orders for his 1959 Fender Twin reissue JD for $39. Yeah, that's fucking dumb. Yeah, $4,000 for a 1959 Fender Twin reissue because it has his name on it. I mean, no. I not without seeing the inside of that thing. I would never buy anything like that, actually. Never. Like, first date, let everybody else buy that fucking thing first, and let a few of them. It's just like a new, it's like a new Tesla or something, automobile. Let all the idiots spend their money first. Let them work out the kinks for a little while. Give it 5 or 10 years, and let somebody else take a hit on something like that. And then if they start to take off, great. If they stand the test of time. And you can go more than 300 miles in the fucking thing without it running down. And if you can find a charging station that doesn't take you 12 hours and you have to get a hotel room to charge the fucker up, just let them go through all the beta testing first, right? And as far as something like on an amplifier that's supposed to be a reissue, there's no such thing anymore. Modern reissues are full of shit. It's like, you can go to Supro amplifiers. They're nothing like the originals. They're just completely different. They don't sound the same. They're constructed differently. It's not the same. You can go to any Fender I've ever seen that was dubbed a reissue has never been even close to the original circuit anyway. It seems like it's got more mods. It's like, oh, they've changed this value and changed this value. And the transformer's not even nearly the same size, and all these things that matter, that add up to the original tone, aren't there. So it's not a reissue. It's just not. It's just they're slapping a facade on it. That's what it is. They're just putting a name on it and hoping that a bunch of dipshits will be stupid enough to buy it. But yeah, on something like that where it's $4,000, absolutely fucking no way would I buy something like that, sight unseen, without being able to at least see the inside of one. To be able to say, wow, this thing is like built fantastic. And it would have to be fantastic for $4,000. Otherwise, I'll go buy a vintage one that I know is fantastic. Because with $4,000 you can get a lot of vintage with $4,000. You can get a lot of point-to-point wired. You go get a high watt or something for $4,000 that you'll never have to worry about. Hey Brad, greetings from England. Great channel. Question for you: Who could win a fight, a shark or a tiger? My vote's on the liger on that one, because he comes in out of left field. I don't actually, between a shark and a tiger though, it would depend on whether the shark was in a tornado or not. If it was a sharknado, I think the shark would win. Otherwise, the tiger's going to have, I think he's going to have the advantage of the higher ground, because the shark is always going to be lower, right? Because he can't bite down at a tiger unless you throw the tiger in the tank. If the tiger, well, on whose turf are we talking here? Now, this is a fucking stupid question. Get out of here, man. Why am I answering this shit? 2 Rock amps are selling an amp for around 8K pounds. Jesus. 8,000 pounds, that's like 12,000 real dollars. Nothing special. If people are stupid enough to buy it, why would they even tour with it? Yeah, I know. Exactly. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, I'm in the business of buying and selling stuff, so I have every reason to blow smoke up your ass and say, yeah, $8,000 is great, or whatever. But no, It would have to be some amp. You know, the only reason to spend anything like that kind of money, honestly, is if the amp has some kind of historical significance. Honestly, that if it's a collectible amp with a historical significance, you're never going to get your money back out of something like that. You know, they're just piggybacking on the vintage collector market. If you get an amp that has this thing belonged to, this thing was in the recording sessions on the Let It Bleed album or something, or you know what I mean? It has to have some historical significance behind it, or it has to be a pretty rare amp or a highly collected amp, so that, you know, the market's big enough that there aren't many that even go up for sale, you know, in good shape. So, you know, maybe a lot of 50s tweed Fenders would fit that bill, you know. But stuff like it has to have some kind of historical significance for me. Otherwise, it's not even going to approach that kind of money. So, I mean, and any kind of new build, hell no. Because I know too many people. I could go on Facebook right now onto the Guitar Amp Builders Forum, and I know too many of those guys who could build you an amp that would be better than anything you can possibly buy, and it would cost less than $8,000, period. So, it would be built to a higher standard every time. So, I don't see it. I don't see $8,000 for a modern amp. Favorite piece of vintage? What does that say? Crap vintage stuff. Not the best, but the special crap. Yeah, Maurice, I've got an old Hofner guitar. It's like a 6-string Beetle. It's not crap. I mean, it's, you know, they're, I guess, somewhat collected in Britain, but they're not. We never see them over here. There aren't enough Hofners in the U.S. really to prop up any kind of collector market here. So, you know, they're just not worth a lot. But the thing is, it's to me, it's just a really cool sounding, interesting sounding guitar. And it's one I probably won't sell for that reason, because I would have a really hard time replacing it. I would never be able to replace the tone of the thing, put it that way. It just has a really special tone. It's got that, it's a hollow body, and it's real small hollow body, so it doesn't feed back really easily, you know, when you crank on an amp. And it's got the pickups that are in it. Are those Hofner blade style pickups? I forget the model on those. But they only made them for a couple of years, and man, are they killer pickups. They just have so much clarity and high output. And it's just a killer guitar, and it's just something that I'm probably not going to get rid of. The Tyscos and all the Japanese stuff, yeah, man, a lot of those are pretty special. It seems like on those you tend to have a bit of a choice, because the pickups on those tend to not be great until about, you know, the very late 60s into the 70s. They started getting the pickups right, it seems like. Around 1969 to 72-ish, they started really getting better at the pickups. Before that, though, they had all the interesting body shapes. So you kind of have to take your pick on a lot of those. It's like, am I going for the interesting looking body shape, or am I going for the pickup that really sounds killer, you know? And usually you have kind of that choice to make. My first guitar, my first guitar was this piece of crap my dad bought me out of like a Fingerhut magazine or something, like catalog. I don't know. It was some kind of catalog acoustic guitar. But that was before I even wanted to play. So it was like he got it for me, and I didn't even want to play it. It just kind of sat in the corner and never got played. But the first guitar that I actually played was a Dixon electric guitar that I bought from the fellow whose store I showed the other day, Chris Kroger at ABBA's Music. It was a Dixon like Strat copy. That was my first one that I played. And the first guitar that my dad bought me, that one, the acoustic, I ended up smashing because I had this huge crush on my next door neighbor when I lived. Well, I guess I don't know. When I was probably 13-ish, something like that. You know, my next door neighbor at the time, man, she was hot. I mean, you hear about the next door neighbor thing. Well, I actually had that, the girl next door. And man, she was hot. But she was babysitting my sisters one day. I came home from somewhere, and she was babysitting my younger sisters, and she had her boyfriend there, her new boyfriend, in my house. You know, and I had this crush on her, and so I walk in. I'm like, you fucker, you know. So I go to my room and I fire up my amp. I had a half stack at the time. I fire up my half stack and I start just wailing away, you know, just pouring my soul into this just fuck you solo. And I come back out eventually, like after like my catharsis, and they're gone. And so but I grabbed that guitar and I just smashed it, and I just threw this big fit. And it was so that there went my first guitar. Don't tell anybody I told you guys that story. Harmony stuff is cool. Harmony stuff is really cool. The thing about harmonies is they usually used de-Armand pickups. So, you know, most of the pickups on those they have pretty good output, and they're well-made pickups. You know, so you don't have the problem of like really high microphonic pickups that you get with some Japanese stuff. Now, a lot of those Japanese guitars, when you get those microphonic pickups, they actually sound really good in certain conditions. Like if you're looking for a certain sound and you want that kind of lively, you know, there's a certain tone that you can only get if you have a really crappy kind of microphonic pickup. You just can't reproduce that sound with a good guitar. It kills it, you know. And if you were to take the pickups out of one of those, and if you were to pot them properly so that they weren't microphonic, it would also kill them. It would kill the mojo of, you know, what they have going for them. So it would, anybody who has a studio, you should actually keep a couple of those cheap Japanese guitars around just for that reason. Just because on some tracks you might find that's what you want, you know, for that part of that song where you just want it to sound like, you know, somebody's banging off the walls crazy, you know, and really noisy, that you need that. So everything has its place. There's no such thing as good or bad, really. It's just everything has its place, especially musical tools. You know, there's no such thing as good or bad. Anyway, you guys, do you have any other? I'm going to take probably 2 more questions, and then we'll head out. Thank you, Andy Mack. Hey, Brad, I can't get my original 59 Tweed Champ to overdrive. Just a flubby, farty mess with a telly. Changed some caps and resistors, but no luck so far. Well, the first thing to do is put a Les Paul through it, not a telly. And it would probably overdrive at that point. But yeah, man, I hate to say it, because, you know, a lot of those speakers that they put in those amplifiers are pretty sought after, and I'm not going to tell you to change it or to sell the speaker or anything, but you might try changing the speaker. A lot of times those old Jensens, they just get really worn out, and they do sound great, you know, for some things, but if you try to crank on them, if they've really been worn out and played a lot, they just, you know, the cardboard has just had it, you know, or the material that they use, whatever they used on the cone for the particular speaker you have, has just been worn out, and it just can't reproduce the frequencies that you need it to reproduce in order to overdrive, you know, properly. So you might try a different speaker. I suggest on anything old like that, that's like Tweedy, I suggest you go to Weber speakers. Usually they make really good reproductions of that old stuff that would probably go well in that amp. And start with that and see what that does. And also, if that doesn't do it, try maybe buying a selection of 2 or 3 decent tubes that you can swap out in the V1 position in particular. Because if you have a weak tube in V1, it could be that you're just... you know, you're just not getting out of it everything that you could get out of it otherwise. So, yeah, definitely try that. those two things I would try before I did any kind of mods or anything like that. You could go in there, I'm sure, and do some mods and get it to really rock up. You can do that with just about anything. But on something like that, you don't want to screw around with it probably too much. So just because it does have some collector value being a 59 Tweed champ. So, but anyway, I hope that helps. And thank you, by the way, for the tip. Appreciate that. Okay, let's see. All right, last question. Let me see if I can pick a good one here. It's 1:00 in the morning Eastern time, so I need to go to bed. Rewired my Strat for 1 volume, 1 master tone. The tone is dark. Should change the tone pot to 500K to brighten up. What do you have on there now? 250? I mean, you could change it to 500K, and that might darken it. That might brighten it up. You can also experiment with the cap value, and that might actually go further. So, like if you have a cap in there now that's like a .01, you could try like a .0047 or something like that. Or if you have like a .05 cap in there, you might try .01. Or .022, or if you have a .022, go to the .01. But man, yeah, if it's a .022, yeah, try a .01 capacitor instead, and that should brighten it up some. But I think I would do that before I would change the pot. I mean, you can change the pot, and you set the pot about halfway, and then it'll give you up and down at that point. How does my wife put up with me? She deserves a trophy. Well, you just made a friend, Maurice. You just made a friend, I'm sure. Yep. Yeah, Matt, see you soon as well. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around. There's 30 of you guys watching. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's about what I expected, too. Over here on Channel 2, I think I've got about 1/10 of the amount of subscribers as I have on the main channel, so... I usually get maybe about 300 people watching a live stream over there. So yeah, about 30 people is about what I expect. So very cool. I'm glad you guys turned out. Thank you very much for doing so and sticking through all my own personal troubleshooting. But I'd much rather be embarrassed in front of 30 people than 300 people. So anyway, we'll see you guys later. Y'all take care. And let me see if I can make this shut off without having to wait a half an hour.